Hey guys, what's up? This is Vector3 and I hope you guys are doing okay and welcome to the video. In this video I'll be teaching you everything you need to know about CFrame and Vector3. So essentially we can use these two to pretty much change any part's position, orientation or their size as well. So you'll learn everything that you need to know about them in this video. And yeah, so before we get started, I do want to say my apologies for not posting a video or a short in almost 2 months now. um I do have my reasons. I have been really busy with life. I've been, started going gym again, and I've been focusing a lot on my other project. um and I've just been busy in general with life, so I haven't really had time to create any videos or shorts. However, during the time that I've been away, I have seen tremendous support on the YouTube channel and on TikTok. Like for example, the subscriber count for the channel went from 80, which was, what I was saying in my previous video, to now 370 something. But basically pretty much almost at 400, which is just crazy to me because I don't know if so many people enjoy the content that much. So it's a really good sign, and I'm glad that you guys like the content, and I thank you, I thank every single one of you guys for viewing the content and liking it and leaving a subscribe. It means a lot to me and I highly appreciate it. But yeah, and another thing before I get started as well, I have gotten a new mic now, because I do know in my shorts and in my previous videos that there's always a certain clicking sound in the mic, but hopefully it should be gone with this new mic, so that's something to be happy about. And last but not least, if you haven't watched the previous videos in this scripting guide series, I highly suggest you do. It's always action-packed with some information that you might not know, so be sure to check them out. And yeah, without further ado, let's get started on this guide. So yeah, so as I explained in the beginning of the video, there's two different ways that we can manipulate essentially a part's position. So we could do one, which is Vector3, and another is CFrame. So the key difference between Vector3 and CFrame is that Vector3 can store X, Y, and Z coordinates, and a CFrame can essentially do the same thing. So a CFrame also stores X, Y, and Z coordinates as well. However, the CFrame also has the ability to store orientation / the rotation of the part, basically. Vector3 can't do this. So that's the that's the main difference between Vector3 and CFrame. However, you'll understand that a bit more as I go across the video. But yeah, so let's get started with Vector3. So first, before we can even manipulate a position, we're gonna have to create a part. So I've got my part here, and I'm just gonna color this red. And then what else am I gonna do? I'm gonna go on the spawn, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make this be thin, cause you'll understand why. But yeah, so I've got my part here. It's colored red because originally I was just gonna make it so when I change a position, the initial position would be red, but the new position would be green. So that way it'll be a bit easier to see where it changed positions, essentially. Yeah, so I'm gonna do old part, and this new part I'll just make it green. I'll make it green. I'll make this a bit transparent as well. Why not? Okay, it looks it's like an ugly yellow for some reason, but that's besides the point. So you've got to create a script. So just create one here, and to change the position of a part is fairly simple. So obviously we're gonna first start by referring to the part. So I was gonna make a variable. I was just gonna do local part equals game.workspace.part. That's the name of a part, right? However, you can just do it directly as well, like that. But after you got your part, you're gonna we're gonna do a dot. And then if you remember before, if we do a dot after the reference of an object, it gives us ability to call a function or to have access to its properties / attributes. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do dot, and as you can see, there's already CFrame and position at the top already. But we're going to click on position. But you don't have to click on it, you can just type it out. But yeah, so we're going to do part.position equals, because we're going to assign it a new value. And for position, you have to keep this in mind. So position, you can't assign it to a CFrame, you must assign it to a Vector3. So keep that in mind when you're scripting. So we're going to just simply create a new vector3. So we just do this by doing vector3 dot new, and we're going to do our brackets, and essentially inside these brackets is going to be our x, y, and z values for the coordinate. So let's say I wanted it to spawn in the middle of the world. What we would do here would be 0, 0, 0. So now if I was to press play, the script would be read as in, okay, let me look at the part, let me look at the position, and I'm gonna set it to I'll set it so the part spawns in the middle of the world, and then yeah, so essentially what's gonna happen. So if you press play, you can now see this is a new part, it's green, and you can see this is the old part. So the new part has spawned in the middle of the world essentially. Oh, I forgot to make it anchored. But yeah, so that's essentially it. So let me set both of them as anchored before we continue. So that's how you would change the position of a part. Let's say I wanted it so obviously these are, first of all, so obviously these are representing x, y, and z. So if you change the values in one of those or in any of those, pretty much it'll change the position, right? So let's say I want to change the height of at which this part spawns. You would change the middle one because this is the one that represents the y-axis, and on Roblox Studio the y-axis basically is the height of it, the height of the part. So I've set this to 5, so hopefully when I press play, it's going to spawn 5 studs in the air, which, as you can see here, it does that successfully. And our old part is there. So that's how to change the position. If you want to do some arithmetics, I suppose, with vector3s, you can do that easily. So you could do plus, you could do times, you could do I mean subtract, not times. But you could do plus, minus, subtract, or you can do divide. But for this case, I'm just going to do plus, and let's say I'm just going to leave this as 0, 0, 0. So technically this is at the middle of the world. Let's say I wanted to spawn 5 studs in the air. You could just do vector3 dot new. So essentially you just create another one, and then I'm going to do 0, 5, 0. And that basically just means it'll add these two together. And if you know, it's fairly easy maths, it just basically means that 5 will be added onto 0. And it should basically mean the part should spawn in the air, similar to before essentially. So we could also do minus as well, or we could do the other arithmetic symbols that I showed you before. So that's positioning. Let's say we wanted it so instead of it being spawned depending on the world, let's say we wanted the part to just spawn in front of it essentially. So what we can do is pretty much when we set the new position, we just refer to the old position, and then we just do some arithmetics by doing plus, and then we can just do a vector3. So we can just simply do that by referring to the old position by doing part by position plus vector3 dot new, and then I'm just gonna go forward by doing 5. So I believe if I did that, it should go behind it for some reason, hence why I did that minus. But you can see here, so this is the old position, red, and the green position is the new one. And as you can see, it's at the same position, but it's now, you know, behind it because of that plus 5. It's a bit confusing because the orientation's a bit weird. To be fair, I could just rotate this 180. So let me do that. Now if I press play, it should be fine, hopefully. Ah, okay, guess not. But yeah, that's the one thing that you need to know about vector3. Vector3 is based on the coordinates of the world, so it's based on world axis essentially, which is why CFrame is really useful in scenarios like this. You'll understand it a bit when I look into CFrame in a second. But yeah, so I'm just going to do here minus just so it can spawn in front of the part. It makes it a bit easier to understand. But that's essentially how you can use the old position of the part to, you know, add a offset to it essentially. And then obviously you can change the other values as well. And yeah, that's everything you need to know about position pretty much. So let's say I want to change the size of it now. What you can do here is, instead of position, we're just going to do dot, and then we're going to do size, and then we're going to do equals. And another thing to keep in mind with size is that we cannot use CFrame for this once again. This has to be done by vector3. So just going to do vector3. Do not forget about the new. So you can't just do it like that. You have to do new brackets, and then let's say I want it to be, you know, a cube. I can do 2 by 2 by 2. So now if when I press play, it's going to resize the part, so it's a 2 by 2 by 2 cube. So 2 cubed, I guess. Yeah, as you can see here, it's now cube. That's pretty much how you would change the size of a part. And similar to how with position, we can simply refer to the size as well by just simply doing that. So part to size plus, and we can also do arithmetics with the vectors by, you know, adding another what do you call it, vector to it, and then we could do plus, minus, etc, etc. Yeah, so that's how you pretty much change the size of a part. One more thing is that with Vector3, the key difference between Vector3 and CFrame is the orientation, right? So with Vector3, you can't really change the rotation of the part. So in order to do that, you should pretty much just use CFrame. So to do that, it's similar to how we refer to a position, but we're going to do .CFrame instead. So before I continue this, CFrame will be similar to position. So we just simply do equals, not position, I meant it's similar to Vector3. So instead of Vector3.new, we're gonna do CFrame.new. And for your information, if we're setting a new value for CFrame of a part, it has to be a CFrame. It can't be a Vector3.new. Otherwise, Roblox Studio is gonna have a bit of an issue with it, and you know, it'll show an error in the output console. So if we want to change the CFrame, we can simply if we want to change the position of a part using CFrame, we simply do part.cframe equals CFrame.new, and we pretty much just put in the coordinates. So I'm just going to do 0, 0, 0. And now this is just going to simply, you know, put it in the middle of the world once again, essentially. Let's say I wanted to do some arithmetics, so I want it to spawn in the sky. What you can do is, instead of doing plus, we're gonna have to do times. So it's a bit weird, but you'll get used to it when you're using C-frames, essentially. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna do times CFrame.new 0, 5, 0. And this basically just means that, oh hey, I want this part to spawn in the middle of the world, and then afterwards I want it to spawn 5 studs above it, essentially. So if I press play, you can see now that it's in the air. So that's how you manipulate the position using CFrame. Yeah, so with CFrame we can't change the size, so keep that in mind. You can't just simply do size equals that. So we can't do that. However, what we can do is we can change the rotation, which I will show you in 2 seconds because I forgot to show you something else. So we can, do you know how previously I was referring to the part's position or size whilst assigning it the new value? You can similarly do the same thing here. We're just going to do part.cframe, and essentially what this means, it's you know, it's just going to use the old CFrame and offset it with the new one that you're about to give it. So here it just basically means that, oh hey, look at the same position of the part and the same rotation as the part, but make sure that it spawns 5 studs higher. That's going to be the new offset. So if I press play, you can see now that it spawns 5 studs higher. But yeah, so that's how you would refer to the part CFrame. However, let's say we wanted to change rotation. Vector3, as we know, we can't do that, but in CFrame we can, because CFrame stores the position as well as the orientation of the part. So what we can do here would be, instead of, let me remove that. Actually, I'll keep it here because I need it. So let's say I wanted to add a rotation to it. So once again, we don't do plus, we're going to do times, and we're going to do CFrame, and then instead of new, we're going to do dot angles. And then we're going to put in the brackets, and then it's going to basically be, we're going to put in degrees. Well, it's not degrees, but we're just going to put in a number for the X, Y, and Z axis that we want it to rotate, essentially. So let's say I wanted it to rotate 45 degrees in a particular axis. What you would do is 0, 0. I want it to change 45 degrees in the Z axis, for example. You think this is how you would do it. However, you need to keep this in mind that CFrame.angles, this function does not use degrees. So if you're a mathematician, you should know, but CFrame.angles uses something called radians, which is, if you're not a mathematician, it essentially just means a different way. It's just a different way to represent an angle, essentially. That's just the way Roblox does things. So what you simply do is we're just going to convert this degree into a radian by doing math.rad brackets, and that's it. So now if I were to press play, it's going to spawn it in the air based on the old CFrame, which is, you know, the position / orientation of the part, as well as changing the angle 45 degrees on the z-axis. So if I press play, you can see it spawned 5 studs in the air, and it's also changed the angle of it, which is yeah, it's pretty cool. That's how you manipulate the rotation, essentially. But so that's how you change the rotation. And obviously we can change this to different values. We can set it to multiple different axes as well. It's not just, you know, set to one. But that's almost everything that you need to know about CFrame. There's one more thing that I need to show you about CFrame, which is really important. So as you can see here, this is all, you know, straight right now, but let's say this part's a bit, you know, slanted, and I want this part to spawn 5 studs in front of it. So in order to do that, we have to use CFrames, because if we use Vector3, it depends on the world. So it depends on the world axis, and the world axis, basically it's not gonna have rotation. It's not gonna care about it. Let me just show you with the arrows. So with the arrows, this is currently the world axis. Let's say I wanted it to move 5 studs in, you know, front. If I wrote that as a script using position, it'd essentially move it. Let me get the actual part. It'll essentially move it 5 studs like that. However, obviously, let's say I want it to go forward depending on the way that the part is facing. What we can simply do is click on the part again. And then here I'm going to right click, I'm going to use local space. So each part has its own CFrame. So I forgot to explain it before, but CFrame means coordinate frame. And that basically means that each part has its own coordinate, like axis sort of system, essentially. And CFrame is going to care about the part's orientation before, you know, applying anything new to it. So as you can see here, I've changed the arrows to use the local axis, and you can see that the arrows are now facing the direction of the part. So let's say I wanted it to move 5 studs forward. If I now use CFrame instead, it's going to go forward by that. So it's going to go forward by using the direction of the part instead of previously it'd be doing that, essentially. So I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, I'm just going to pretty much just show you it practically. So here I'm just going to, you know, refer to the old CFrame, and I'm just going to make it go forward by I'm going to do -5, but -5 essentially means it's going to go forward. So if I press play, you can see that it's now went forward by 5 studs by the direction of the part. However, if I instead did part.position equals part.position plus vector3, got confused there, vector3.new 0 0 -5, and let me just comment this out. Now if I press play, you can see that instead of the part going forward like this way, it actually went forward by the world axis instead of the local axis, essentially. So that's another key difference between CFrame and Vector3. So like, let's say in a game I wanted to spawn a fireball in front of me. 9 times out of 10, every developer is probably gonna use CFrame to spawn this fireball, because if we didn't use CFrame and we used Vector3 instead, let's say I made a script say, okay, spawn a fireball in front of the player using Vector3. Depending on my rotation, it might not look correct. Like, let's say I'm facing this way, but by the world axis, it'll probably think, oh, hey, I'm gonna spawn a fireball here when my mouse is spinning around. But with CFrame, essentially, it cuts that issue, because it'll care about the part's orientation before setting the CFrame. So if I used it, it'll essentially spawn a fireball in front of me no matter like which direction I'm facing. So that's why you should use CFrame and Vector3 depending on what situation, essentially. It's pretty situational. But that's essentially pretty much everything you kind of need to know. One little neat trick that you can also do is you can make a part look at a particular part or position. So that's pretty straightforward. Let me just, copy and paste this. I'm just gonna set this to purple. And let me just set this to be straight. And let's say I want this part to look in this part's position or direction. What we simply do is it's a kind of a combination of both, but basically we're just going to do part.CFrame. So we're going to need to use CFrame for this, not Vector3. So we're going to do part.CFrame equals CFrame.lookAt. So this is a special function that we're going to use. So the first position that we're going to give it will be the initial position that we're going to be at. So here I just want it to start at the part's position. So I'm just going to do part.position, and then we're going to do comma, and this is going to be the position where we're going to be looking at. So pardon me. So to do that, we're just going to get the position of this part. So we're just going to do game.workspace. Also, I kind of need to change the name. Purple part. Gonna copy it. So we're gonna do game.workspace.purplepart.position, and essentially what this means that it's gonna assign the C-frame of the part by it's gonna be the position. So this is the initial position because it's part the position, and then it's gonna look at the position of this purple part. So if I press play, you can see now that the green has changed direction, so it's now pointing towards this part essentially. But that's something new and cool that you should probably keep in mind. Once again, it's going to be situational when you can use it, but it's really important that you keep that in mind. But yeah, so that's essentially everything that you need to know about C-frames and Vector3 and how you can use them to manipulate the position, sizing, and the rotation of a part in Roblox Studio. I think in the next couple tutorials, I will most likely explain how you can change the position of a player instead, or the rotation. But I don't think I'm gonna say it in this tutorial because I think it's a bit much to so it's gonna be a lot of content to basically have. I don't want to overwhelm you guys. But yeah, that's essentially how you can change the part's position, size, and rotation. And I hope that was pretty straightforward, and I hope everything made sense. But yeah, if you do have any questions because it's a bit confusing, or if you just have any in general, just be sure to just write down in the comments below, and I'll try my best to respond to it, or somebody else in the community could respond to you as well. But yeah, and if you have any other guide requests that you want, just be sure to comment below. I'll always be reading the comments. But yeah, and I hope you do enjoy the video, and I hope it made a lot of sense to you guys. And be sure to try this out in Roblox Studio. That's the best way to become a better scripter in Roblox, or in anything in general. Just always gotta practice what you've learned. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, be sure to leave a like, drop a subscribe as well on the channel, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.